Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Today's guest is a true legend in the VW world, a guy whose fingerprints are quite literally in the pages that shaped the culture that we love. He's the publisher and the editor of VW Trends magazine, a man who's been wrenching, writing, and resurrecting one of the most iconic publications in our scene. That man goes by Dan Leadbetter. From buying his first bug from a retired pastor in Orland, California, to typing his first feature on a clunky old typewriter that actually landed him his dream job at VW Trends. Dan's story is full of grit, full of humor, and it's full of pure Volkswagen soul. We're diving into magazine wars, burnt clutches, late night deadlines, and what it takes to bring a legend back from the dead. Dan Leadbetter, welcome to DubLife Diaries.
I am so glad to be here. I am absolutely honored and humbled to be a part of this. So thank you.
Absolutely, dude. You're the man. I'm excited for this one. You know, you might think to yourself, hey, he's wearing a Volksmania shirt. We got VW Trends in the background. This is what this community is all about. There's enough to go around, guys. We should all get along. I reached out to Dan, and he was more than open to jump on this podcast with me. How awesome is it to have somebody that is this ingrained in the community and also this open to working with me, right? That's awesome, man. So thank you. Before we get going, I do want to give a couple shout outs to a couple of my sponsors. Salty Dub, first one up. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub is tearing up the coastal VW scene with VW events and all types of swag. Check those guys out, saltydub.com. You can use the discount code DubLife10. That's DUBLIFE, the number 10, get you 10% off of merch. Second shout out to my buddy Chris White, Riverbank Customs. One hell of a VW nut. This guy is just all about the community. His videos are awesome. Check these guys out, Riverbank Customs on YouTube. He's out of Pell City, Alabama. You'll know you got the right guy. Southern Belle, he's got an awesome accent. Just a stand-up dude. Check those guys out. All right, back to you, my friend. Back to you.
All right, I'm ready. Let the questions fire at will.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning for you, right? I know it all started with a 64 Beetle, right?
It did, yes.
All right, so give me the story of the 64 Beetle that you bought from a retired pastor.
All right. Well, let's go back a little. I feel like Sherman and Mr. Peabody in the Wayback Machine. Let's go back a little bit. I was born in Southern California, Harbor City. My father worked Northrop Air Corps. When he retired, he bought a hobby farm in Northern California. This little town called Orland, which is about 100 miles north of Sacramento, right off the 5 freeway. In fact, funny story, if you are on the 5 freeway going towards Sacramento, you go past and you go through Orland. When you see the Road 7 sign, if you look off to your left, you'll see the barn that I used to climb up and play on when I was a kid. So all that to say, tiny little place, 4,000 people, one stoplight, not what I would consider the mecca of VW activity, but I was into all kinds of like custom cars. Like I loved choppers, like the old school choppers with the big front ends that went out there and the big ape hangers. And I loved the custom scene. Well, I had gotten into a automotive mishap with a couple of my best friends, and the insurance company gave me $400 for my troubles, I guess. And so I was going, well, I'm coming up on driving age. I'm going to need something to drive. So I started looking for a car. Well, the church that I went to, Reverend Sam Smith, which sounds like a made-up name if ever I heard one.
I was going to say, I think that's in a Snoop Dogg song.
I think it is. It is. So he had this beat-up 64 Bug that he had pulled the back seat out of and put down a board so he could carry his golf clubs. And he was looking to sell it. And I said, look, I got $400. He says, I'll take it. So that's how I got the car. And that was my first experience of actually, well, number one, owning, and two, actually riding in a VW.
Okay.
And I was just so blown away by the simplicity of the car, but yet how complex it was from a standpoint of all of this stuff working together, in the air cooled motor, which was, some that I just could not comprehend. So that was my first introduction to it. While living in a small town, the biggest nearest town to us was called Chico, California. And they had one of the last auto house stores there. So I would go over to Chico and stop there and I would pick up a copy of Hobby W's magazine because they sold those at the counter. And I'd look, almost like the Sears Christmas wish book. I'm looking around the store going, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. And I think the first modification I did on my car was I bought a pair of fiberglass bucket seats and pulled the stock seats out and had my friend help me. We drilled into the seat frame and we put these things on, but they never really quite, no pun intended, they never really quite seated. So my best friend Don would be on the passenger side. Every time I'd take off, the seat would come out of the hinges and throw him into the back. It was great. It's like a Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down kind of thing.
That's right.
But that's where I got it, and I loved that car. I could go to the gas. Now I'm really going to show my age. I could fill up my tank for $5, 50
Oh,
cents a gallon back in the day.
wow.
But I loved that car, and it was quirky, and it was fun, and it was reliable, and I just immediately fell in love with it. And of course, reading Hot VWs, I'm like, people do this to their car, people do that to their car. Oh my gosh, it opened up a whole new world of what Volkswagens could be. So that was my first experience of actually owning and starting to catch the bug, so to speak.
Yeah, what year was this?
Oh gosh, this would have been 1970, 77. I think it was 77 or
Okay.
possibly late 76, I think. Because
That's
oh
the
yeah,
year.
because I got
uh,
my driver's permit when I was 16. So yeah, 76.
76. Okay. I was born in 77.
Oh, good. Yeah, don't make me feel old.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so
pal.
showing you my age. Okay, so I think we're right here in the time frame though for your first letter that got published, right? Was that 75, I think?
I believe that was, well, yeah, I guess it would have been 75. I was looking at stuff to do to my car, and one of the things that I absolutely was so hooked on, God knows for what reason now, I look back and go, what the hell was I thinking? I wanted those plexiglass quarter window scoops that used to go in the back window, so it'd be like a scoop bringing the air. Yeah, you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I want that, but I don't know where to find them. And so I wrote a letter to Hobby W saying, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, looking for this, and they actually published it. I was so surprised. I was like, that my first taste of VW stardom is what I call it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. And then I know after that, timeline wise, you eventually ended up moving to Southern California.
I did. I actually
Prompted the move.
It's kind of funny. I had gone on a tour. I was in a band actually, and I'd gone over to England for a few weeks, touring up and down England and Scotland in a band. I'm a drummer by, well, not by trade, but just by happenstance. And so I got back, and some friends that I had met while I was over there said, dude, you got to come to LA, man. This is where we're at. This is where it is. And I said, you know what? I got nothing going on in this little tiny town. I was working as a short order cook at I think it was Skip's place out in Orland, like by the freeway. I was slinging burgers, doing that. And I thought, you know what? I'm ready for a change. Here I am. I'm 23, 22, whatever. And, I need a change. So I went and stayed with my friend, stayed with him and his parents, eventually got an apartment and just moved forward from there.
So epicenter of the VW scene now. Are you still in the Beetle?
Yes, yep, still driving around the 64.
So this is
And
like, early 80s to even
yeah,
mid 80s, Southern California, man. This is the height of the scene, right? For back
yes.
then for yeah. What was that vibe like down there? Did you recognize obviously it must have been like a kid in a candy store.
You know what's funny? I I didn't see as many VWs as I thought I was going to see.
Okay.
So I was like, I'd be driving around, and mine was the only bug on the road, and I'm going, well, this can't. How is this even possible? From what I've read in the magazines, right? That there were bugs every 10 feet, like Starbucks, and it turned out I just didn't see them. So I thought, you know what? On the weekends, I would go out to like Car Custom out there, Small Car Specialties before I started working for them, Johnny Speed and Chrome, all of the SoCal parts places, just to drool, look at the parts and go, I wish I had those.
Sure.
So yeah, it was interesting because when I went to those places, it was almost like a mini show in the parking lot. There were just cool bugs parked out there and type threes and all this stuff. And I'm going, man, this is where it's happening. I was in Costa Mesa, so I thought I must be where it wasn't happening. But but yeah, it's just started going from there. And of course, when you're into something, how your mind becomes more sensitive to seeing stuff. So you point it out and you go, yep, there's one, there's one, there's one,
Yep.
that type of thing.
Yeah. So Small Car Specialties back at in that time was a big name, right?
Huge name. Especially they had their small car showdown every year, which was their big show, which was huge, just a huge show. Aside from the regular shows they would have at the fairgrounds, this took up their entire parking lot and their neighbor's parking lot. It was just this monster of a show.
And what you worked there? What exactly did you do there?
Well, how I got to small car, I was the manager of a Vans tennis shoes
Okay. Oh,
in
cool.
Westminster, California, right?
Okay.
Uh, Ask me later about my job interview. It's pretty awesome. But I was working there, and I worked there for over a year and a half, I believe. And they said that they were got a phone call from the district manager, said, "Hey, we're firing all the assistant managers, and you're going to have to let your guy go." And I'm going, "No, I don't want to let this guy go because he's good, he's solid." I said, "I poured a lot of time into him. I mean, he's going to be a great manager. Just keep him on." "No, we can't do it. It's corporate." And and I go, well, one, not fair. And I said, two, I'm not going to do it. And they said, well, then you have the choice to step down. And I said, you know what? I got to stand on principle on this one. I said, I'm out. I can't work here anymore. So here I am, thinking I'm making a right move, and I'm going, how the hell am I going to eat now? I
Right.
got plenty of shoes to wear, so I'm not worried about that.
I
But
think
it's like,
that's, us as men, early 20s. I think we're still not really there at the decision making
no,
aspects yet. We're just still
no,
ready to just do whatever.
the brain has not fully developed yet.
That's right.
I am pure testimony to that. So I'm going, well, now I got to get a job. Holy crap, what am I going to do? So I start looking through the Penny Saver, which is no longer around. But I was going through and it said, hey, there, warehouse person needed, pays probably, I don't even know what it was, probably 350 an hour, whatever the
Yeah.
minimum wage was back then.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I call up and it's Small Car Specialties. I'm like, oh, okay, I have a Volkswagen. And they said, oh, that's great. So you know a little bit about Beetles. That helps. And they threw me out a number to go to work there. And in my early 20s, brain not fully developed, I go, you know what? That's not a lot of money, and I don't think I'm going to be able to accept your kind and courteous offer, but thank you anyway, and good luck to you in your search.
Oh,
And there are moments in life where I always call them a divine intersection, right? It's like I hung up that phone and everything screamed inside me, call them up and say you're sorry and take the job. So I call him back. I go, I'm sure I didn't use the word dude, but something is similar to that. I said, you know what? I may have been a bit hasty. I said, if the job is still available, I would like to work there. And they said, come on down, come on down. So I got the job in the warehouse. Like I would drive the forklift over to the racks of stuff. It is sort of the high tech mechanical version of go to the freezer and get the box. It's like I would drive up, pull the thing up, drop it to the ground. They'd grab it like, hungry beavers, pull the parts off, and then go ship them. I would pick the thing back up, put it up there. And then I graduated up when they felt they could trust me enough to drive the truck and go around and deliver parts to to Car Custom, to all these other places. I only did that once, by the way, because I got in the truck and I'm driving around Southern California. Now, we didn't have GPS. So I'm using a Thomas guide. I'm like trying to figure this thing out. I left at 9:30 in the morning and I didn't get back until 7:30 that night. I was so lost. And the three big guys were out in the parking lot when I get back. They said, "Oh yeah, we had bets that you wouldn't come home tonight." So, so yeah, it's nice to, go through those types of character building exercises.
Oh yeah, probably went very well said. Let's fast forward a little bit to
Sure.
the Sam Shackelford connection.
Yes, yes. So Sam Shackelford was my boss at Small Car Specialties.
Okay.
And he was friends with Bob Clark, who was the editorial director over at McMullen and Yee Publishing. Now, McMullen and Yee had about 25 titles at this point, most notably for this purpose, VW Trends, Truckin', Mini Truckin',
Oh yeah, I remember.
like
Yeah,
what,
those were
what was
huge.
the
What about Lowrider? Was
Oh
Lowrider?
yeah, Lowrider was not there yet.
Okay.
That came later when the company got bought out by
Okay.
a New York firm. But
Massive. Those were all the biggest magazines of my childhood.
oh, absolutely, Street Chopper, Hot Bike. I mean, they had literally just they had I think 35 different titles, like so varied. Like American Survival Guide. We had everything from like, our version of Soldier of Fortune. One of the more infamous, we could talk about this later, but Tom McMullen, the owner, quite the eclectic person in his own right, did a one-off magazine called Croquet Today, a croquet publication. Yeah,
Wow.
it. Yeah, if you can find a copy of that, it's something. I don't know what to call it, but it's something. But anyway,
That'd be like making a magazine that says we watch paint dry.
100%, and that's what it was. It was the most painful magazine to look through. I'm going, it was all about croquet fashion, which in the
80s?
90s and
Yeah.
80s, it's like, oh, it was horrible. It was literally one of the most horrible things I'd ever seen. But makes for a great story.
Yeah, sure. So back to the Sam Shackelford
Back to Sam Shackelford.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
No,
got
that's okay.
derailed.
That's okay. I know there was
Uh,
the phone call that changed everything.
yes. So I told Sam, because I knew he knew Bob. I said, you know what? You should have Bob Clark come down and do a piece on my car. Now, mind you, car 64, hood held down with bungee cords. I was patina before patina was cool.
Yeah.
And it had van stickers all over the rear engine deck lid, and it was just horrible. And he goes, yeah. I'll call him, but we're gonna call it the pile of the month. And I go, I think that's the funniest thing ever. Let's do it. So Sam calls Bob. Bob in turn says, yeah, have the kid write some up. I'll take a look. So Sam tells me, and instantly freak out in anxiety mode because now I've said something and now I got to do it. And I'm like, oh crap. I've never touched a typewriter in my life. It's like, I don't know what to do. So luckily my best friend, Kenny, his parents had an old IBM Selectric that they pulled out of the mothballs and brought it down for me. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. And I remember his mom was so great. She said, well, pretend you're Columbus, find key and land. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? That's what you're giving me? So I sit down and I was always good at creative writing, but I was terrible at grammar, punctuation, and spelling, like D's and F's, like in high school. But I had great creative thought, even though I couldn't spell it right. So
Nice.
I sat down and I just started hunting and pecking and writing this story, and then I'd read it, go, ugh, tear it up, like you see in those fictitious writers programs
Yeah.
where they do 2 pages, tear it up. This is horrible.
Yeah.
Finally got it done. 3 weeks. 3 weeks it took me to write 4 paragraphs. So
Oh,
I know, right? So I give it to Sam. Sam in turn sends it to Bob, and that was early morning on a Wednesday, I think, if memory serves. So that afternoon, we get a call at the shop, and of course it's on a landline because none of us had cell phones back then. And I pick up, and he said, "Yeah, this is Bob Clark from VW Trends magazine. Are you the guy that wrote this piece of shit?" And I was like, oh no, he hates it. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know. And I go, yeah. He goes, I'm just messing with you. No, I'm just kidding. This is the funniest thing I've ever read. Do you want a job? And I'm like, I go, yes. So, and
That's it.
that's it. And it started there. And then I remember going into the office and having to write my stuff on a typewriter, hand it to Robin Hartfield, who was the managing editor at the time. He'd get out a red pen, mark through all the mistakes, send it back to me. I'd have to retype it, send it back to him. He'd mark it out there with that.
Dang, man.
Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal.
The technology of today, I'll tell you, I'm not too far behind you, born in 77, what, 10 years or so.
Yeah, about 10.
When I was in high school, middle school, computers were just really kind of starting to kind of take over and kind of be a thing. So as you're describing this, I'm thinking about, I swear to you, this is true. I learned punctuation and grammar from Microsoft Office.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
spell check, it goes through and I'm like, why is it underlining this in red? I'm like, oh, because I misspelled it, right? So over time, you just kind of start getting better at it. And I know obviously now, I'm almost 50. I don't suck anymore, as bad as I did in my pre days. But this isn't about me. This isn't about me. I want to kind of touch on the feeling of
Yeah.
working at a magazine like that, a company like that, to me, it's in its heyday and the energy must have been crazy. But then even better is kind of this before the pre-digital era, like you're saying, you're typing stuff out, handing it in, they're scoring through it, handing it back. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. What was it like working there back then and that, like, describe. Yeah. Yeah.
It was, well, to be honest, it was my first real job that I had. I mean, I'd always done, like flipping burgers or doing this, doing that, but nothing where it was like, okay, you're 8 to 5. This is where you go, and there's a lot expected of you. It was nerve-wracking, to be honest with you. It's like I felt like I was totally in over my head. I felt that I can only get by with so much on my charm and wit and handsome looks. So I figure I got to just go and I got to do this and make it work. And it was exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time, because
That's
doing a
probably
little
why you should have done it.
exactly,
Yeah.
again, much like, if you're terrified of it, you should probably at least try it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to be a part of that culture and that scene back in the day when it was just huge. Like it
Yeah.
was, I don't know if we'll ever see a time like we saw in the 80s and 90s where the VWs were just so prolific and everywhere. It's like you turn a corner and there's 15 of them. I don't know if we'll see that, but I can tell you in my travels, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but there is a huge contingency outside of the US that I was not prepared for. We'll talk about that.
I've learned that only because of this podcast. See, I don't have a magazine, to stand on or anything prior to the podcast. So I didn't realize the worldwide presence. But, I know I shared this earlier. I'll share it again. This podcast is downloaded in 41 countries. And some of the countries you would be like, no, they don't got VWs there. There's no way.
Right.
Like
Right.
Bangladesh. So you log on to Google and you go type in, a couple things related to air-cooled Volkswagens in Bangladesh, and brother, you pull up a full scene and they're doing
Oh yeah.
all the same stuff we are to our cars.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
just banging. And I'm like, wow, so I resonate with that. I feel that presence all over the world too. And I wouldn't have if I hadn't have done this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. At least I know for myself, sometimes I can get my blinders can be on so tight that I can't really see what else is going on. Like this last year, I do an annual road trip every year. I'm on the road for about 3 months.
I
This
saw
time I
you
made it. Oh, did
going
you?
on.
Where
I
were
saw
you?
I was on your Facebook. You were all over the
Oh,
place.
you're on the Facebook. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you ran into me. And I'm like,
No,
how
I
did
was
I forget
following.
that?
I was watching
Okay.
you go all over the damn place. I thought it was so
Oh
cool.
my gosh. It was amazing. And I got to tell you this, Canada, who would have thought? Who would have thought Canada was a hot spot?
Another banging scene. I've had a few guys, mainly one that really stood out, Jaga with the Outlaw. That scene there is massive.
Huge.
Yeah, yeah. What a refreshing take. But yeah, man, they got it going on there. Canada, it really a lot
They
of
do.
places outside the U.S. are just on fire for the scene.
South America is huge. The UK is huge. I think everybody gets so microscopic on the, 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s SoCal scene. And I'm not saying this to cast shade on anybody, but in my travels, the East Coast is where the SoCal scene was in the 80s and 90s. The level of shows, the level of builds, the level of stuff that I'm seeing, the quality of shows. It's not just a glorified cars and coffee where you pay $20 to get in, 45 minutes, you're done. They actually have stuff going on, like areas for the kids to play, live music, stuff that makes you want to stay all day instead of I
Right.
get there at 9, I leave at 2.
Right.
It's like that's grocery shopping for most people. But anyway, back to the VW trend story. I think I noticed the most when I started being sent to other places. When they'd say, "You got a ticket, you're going to Florida, you're going to the bug out," or that was West Virginia, I think. But there was just so many places that I'd never been out of the country, number one. And here I am, I'm going to Hawaii, I'm going all over the US, and it was just it opened my eyes to a much bigger VW world than I had originally
Yeah.
imagined.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any favorite stories? Any favorite
Oh
builds
gosh,
from back in that time? I'm
man.
thinking, I'm thinking hot pink cars and
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I I always loved the cars that Chris Addington built, like Rodbuster, and can't remember the name. What was the one where it was on the cover of Hot VWs where they had somebody in a spacesuit next to it and they were on this big flat plate. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, I always appreciated his cars because they were so over the top. I mean, a $250,000 VW build.
right.
I mean, exactly. And it's kind of like, you know, one, why? And two, if you've got the money to do that, God bless you. Good on you to build a show worthy car that will kick the ass of many street rods out there.
Right, right, right. Good on you. That's yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where, but then again, I mean, conversely, I have seen guys who don't have that kind of money who still do a respectable build. Like you look and you go, that's a lot of time and that's a lot of hard work. And as we were talking earlier, you were talking about the real star of the VW community are the stories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we talked about how even if you've never had a VW, you have a VW story.
That's right. That's what I was telling you was my motivation to first start the thought of a podcast celebrating Volkswagen people. Well, that
Yes.
turned into, celebrating the community, which turned into, mainly us, like the people of the scene and the guys creating the shows and the builders and
Right.
that's really kind of where it caught.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that we can get into this a little bit later, but that was the founding core principle that we put down in our mission statement when we brought the magazine back.
Something I wanted to touch on was the rivalry between VW trends and hot VWs because we can all picture it, right? Like you said, maybe even back then the cliquish nature before technology and guys like us that are like, hey, we can all just get along and there's enough space for all of us. Was there a rivalry or was this really like an overblown thought by general population?
You know, here's the thing. If I mean, it's a two-part answer. Was there a rivalry? Yes, absolutely. But the rivalry was about being the first magazine to beat the other magazine to the punch. That was one thing that, we'd always strive to do because let's face it, Hot VWs has always been the elder statesman of the VW magazine world. VW Trends has always been the out of control younger brother who you don't know what's going to do next. And I love that. I love that about the magazine. And that's why when we brought it back, I wanted to keep that. But getting back to the rivalry part, Art K. Smith lived about 4 blocks from the McMullen office, and VW Trends was at the back building. Now, I don't know who came up with this brilliant idea, but back in the day, we would have these glass magazine boards that we'd have on the wall, and you'd have a grease pencil, and you would lay out the whole magazine on the wall. So the owner of the company, Ken Yee, he knew RK lived a few miles away, and he went and bought blinds, and we called those the RK blinds, so that he would not drive up here in the middle of the night with a flashlight and see what we were doing in the current issue.
Wow,
So
man.
I know it cracks me up to this day, and
Wow.
I've always told him about that, and he goes, "What?"
To the
I've never driven past your guys' office like that. That's crazy. But it's funny the stories you make up in your head, right?
exact dude. Oh, man.
It's
That's
so
like story of
funny.
my life right there.
Oh, you and me
Stories you
both.
make up in our head for
If
sure.
you're gonna make up a story, at least make it valuable to you. Make it be something that's useful.
Yeah,
But
that's good advice. I think I had to learn that probably some
oh,
in my 30s.
yeah, well, you beat me. I learned it in my 40s, and I wish I would have learned it in my teens.
Right.
But so yeah, so was there a rivalry? Yeah, I guess so, in the sense of wanting to beat the other to the punch
Yeah.
in that sense. But from a personal standpoint, we actually all got along. We would go to shows, like if we were at Sacramento Bugorama, those were the best times because I'd get to hang out with Bruce Smyrna, R.K. Smith, Dean Kirsten, all the guys from Hot VWs. We'd sit around and we'd have lunch together during the shows. We'd laugh, we'd poke fun, try to find their cars, put VW Trend stickers on the back of their rental cars. They'd find our hotel room, put Hot VW stickers all over the door. It was great, and I loved that. It was more of a good-natured, friendly fire kind of thing. It's like we had a job to do, they had a job to do. Their job was to beat us at what we're doing, and ours was the same way. Perfect example of that. Back in, I don't remember the year, and I should have done my research a little bit better. But back in the day, there
Hey,
was a
man,
pink.
we're getting older, dude. We forget.
Oh
It's
man,
okay. It's
let me
okay.
let me tell you,
I
you
got
seem
grace, man.
you seem like a nice boy. Are you my nephew? I don't know. But there was a car that we got, both of us got snookered on. It was a pink convertible with a brown Carson top, ended up on the cover of both magazines in the same month. So that was a big no-no. That is,
Wow.
oh, you have no idea how many meetings we had when that went down. We even sat down with the guys from Hoppy W's and we go, yeah, we got screwed by the owner of the car. He told us that, oh no, no one shot it yet, blah blah blah. And we had meetings that said, look, we'll make a gentleman's agreement. If they say that it's already been shot by Hot BWs, we won't touch it. And conversely, if it's been shot by BW Trends, Hot BWs won't touch it. So we had a camaraderie in that sense because we wanted what was best for the magazine.
Right.
Having the same car on both covers in the same month with a feature inside doesn't do anyone any good.
Right.
So that's been sort of well, I was going to say unspoken, but it was actually a spoken rule that we had during those days.
So through the 80s and 90s, these magazines were everything. A
Yeah.
lot of guests I have on, they talk about their childhood memories of thumbing through, just like you were saying, and kind of making their wish list mentally. From your perspective and your opinion, how did the magazine shape or help shape what we know of as the VW community?
I think, in all honesty, I believe all the magazines meant everything because that was your lifeline. We didn't have the internet back then to where, oh, I'll just go on the Samba and look for whatever,
Right. True.
and all we had was the VW magazines and maybe a club newsletter from another state that they would send out. But honestly, everything was so analog and you had to be intentional. Whereas nowadays, you don't really have to, it's everywhere. It's like you open up your phone, you go to Instagram, and because how the algorithm knows you, boom, you got VW content lined up for a mile.
That's right.
And I think back then, having the magazines was, almost like a monthly Christmas present. it would show up and you tore into that thing. You were looking at the ads and going, I want that. I want that.
Yeah,
Oh, look at that feature. I
totally.
want to do what he did.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I think they were absolutely instrumental. And ironically, bringing a print magazine back today does have its challenges, but I'm sure we'll get into that as we
Yeah, we're
go.
gonna touch on that. We're gonna touch on that. Now, in this timeline, right, shortly after, you created Auto Sound and Security, Splash, and then Smart Electronics magazine?
Yeah, yeah. When I was at McMullen and Yee, one of the things that I incorporated into VW Trends was car audio because one, I was a huge fan. I loved car stereos and I loved subwoofers and the whole thing.
And you guys
And
had Truckin' and, all those others that had all those big systems. Yeah,
absolutely. So
yeah.
so it only made sense after I had reached out to the editor of Car Audio and Electronics magazine
I remember.
and had him do a column in VW Trends. And we did that for about a year, I think, maybe a little over a year. And I was reading it one day and I went, this is ridiculous. Why don't we have our own car stereo magazine? So I went in, I pitched the idea to my very good friend, Greg Gill, who was the ad salesman, actually ad manager, I believe at the time. And in turn, we went and pitched it to the president of the company and he said, run with it. And that's how that got started. And then I left VW Trends sometime in the 90s. Well, I was actually doing both magazines at the same time, and which is
Did
pretty taxing.
when you started editing different magazines outside of the typical VW approach, did it change your approach to the way that you wrote or that you told stories or
In a way, it did. I always tried to keep my voice. So we talked earlier about your podcast is very conversational, and I appreciate that. And that's really how I write. It's like I want people to hear my voice when they
Right.
read what I've written.
Yeah, cool,
Um,
man. So cool.
and yeah, and I think it's needed because nobody wants, no one wants an instruction manual.
Well,
They want
there's like
fun.
one
They want
personality
excitement.
type out of the many that likes that, right? Like
Well,
they like
yes, exactly.
the play by play. It ain't me.
Oh, me neither.
Uh,
And so we decided, I would try to keep it conversational, but at the same time I sort of had to up my game in the electronics world just because that was a more, you
Dude, it
know,
was super popular back then.
oh, it's super popular
Yeah, it
and they
was
were very much about the tech specs and all this, so I had to
right,
be on my game. I couldn't just say, well, maybe it's about 300 watts. I don't know. You'd
right.
have to really get in and go, nope, we tested it and it was actually 293 watts. So, but yeah, it did change. Now, Splash Magazine, all right, this is the first time you're getting an exclusive right here.
Boop, boop.
Yeah, but alert, I actually stole the idea from Splash Magazine from a Hot VW's guy. Let me set it up for you. So we're in
Okay.
Seattle, Washington for a big show at Seattle International Raceway, and one of the guys from Hot VW's back in the day, Jeff Walters, we were sitting around a picnic table having lunch like we always did, right? And he goes, one thing I've been thinking of, and I'm going to go and propose this to Jim Wright from Wright Publishing back in the day. So there needs to be like a jet ski magazine. And I'm like sitting there going, oh, I'm filing this in my little Rolodex. and the minute I got off the plane from that trip, I went into the office and I pitched Kenny with the idea for that, and he went with it, and it became, believe, the second biggest magazine in the personal water sports marketplace.
Dude, man.
That's kind
So
of
cool.
cool.
Well,
It's
they
kind of
say
cool.
they say this is like, I think, a bumper sticker and many other things, but success leaves clues.
Yes, there you go. There you
So
go.
if you're smart enough and you're brave enough, you can pick those clues up and turn them into success for yourself. So
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
pretty awesome. Okay, so you mentioned this, so I'm gonna have you touch on it a little bit more. But
Sure.
dude, these magazine publications at the time, I feel like in the '90s were like, the top shelf were like everything, and then you go and step away. So what made you step away in '97?
Oh gosh. Well, at the time, I I was doing VW Trends and Auto Sound Security, and then I stepped off of VW Trends to work on Auto Sound Security full time. And I was doing that, and of course, me being the idiot that I am, I couldn't leave well enough alone. And I thought, hey, why don't we do like an electronics magazine? Like, because I love computers and building computers, hot rodding computers, and doing all this. Why don't we do kind of a VW Trend style computer magazine? And so we came up with Smart Electronics. And so I'm doing VW Trend. I was doing VW Trends, and I'm doing Auto Sound Security and Smart Electronics. And I am just burned out, like burned out, because here's how a monthly magazine works. You spend 3 weeks like going just balls to the wall. Then you ship the magazine. You get maybe 2 or 3 days off, and then boom, you're back into it again.
Next month.
So
Yeah.
back in the day, we were 3 months ahead of ourselves. So like let's say we're in October now, we're coming up in November, we would be working on January.
Wow.
So it was relentless. It was relentless. And even if you took time off, your head's still not on vacation. You're in the middle of going, oh shoot, look at that car. I gotta give him a card and talk to him. Like, you never really take time off. And after so many years of that, it really just started getting to me. And I said, I got to get out. I just have to get out. And so I left, and the idiot that I was at the time, I said, I'll never need this VW stuff anymore. So I sold off all of my stuff, and I had
Oh no.
dude, let me tell you,
Oh, dude, I can only imagine. The cars
it's
were $400 back then.
oh, I sold off all my memorabilia. I had a
Oh,
complete
dude, man.
collection. Yeah, it was bad. I
What's it
don't
life?
yeah, you know what? It's just stuff, and
That's right.
I can always get more stuff. And it came to the point where I wanted to try different things, because I now knew the magazine industry so intimately. It's like, well, I want to know about like interactive CD-ROMs back in the 90s. I went and worked for an interactive CD-ROM company. I was the director of manufacturing for a CD replication place when CDs were the big thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I did a lot of weird crap. I did a lot of really weird stuff. And then I ended up getting called back to McMullen, even though it had already by this time been bought out by, what was it, Prime Media out of New York. And they went through SoCal and bought every single mom and pop magazine company in the history of the world, with the exception of Hot BWs. They didn't sell out. And Fancy Publications, which was,
Is that
they
cats?
had, dude, Cat Fancy, Dog
Yeah.
Fancy,
Yeah.
Fish Fancy,
Yeah.
Gerbil
Yeah.
Fancy,
Oh my
Lizard
God.
Fancy. They had every fancy publication for any animal you'd want. They didn't sell out either, but now I guess they're gone too. So who
Yeah.
knows?
It's tough
Yeah,
to
but
keep up with the web and it's
oh,
just not the same. And we're going to touch on that in a second. But before we skip past this, looking back now, any regrets or any I wish I would have or wish I had of or any of those type of moments?
oh gosh. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of them. I wish I had never sold my 64 notchback
Mm.
that was on the verge of being completed, because that thing was going to be badass. Going to have a Type 4 motor in the
So
back.
I've never told anybody this, but I'm gonna admit something to you.
Oh, all right.
Through my, you know, learning over the years, learning about all these cars, the Type 3, the notch has become my favorite. And here's why. I'm just gonna give it to you.
Lay it on.
It reminds me of a miniature 57 Chevy.
Yes, 100%.
I've never said that to
100%.
anybody, but that's what when I look at that car, I go, huh. It
Yeah.
looks like a little 57, a little Bel Air, it just, to me in my brain, that's just where my brain goes. I think that's one of the sexiest air-cooled Volkswagens out, period.
It is just, it's so unique, and it is so different.
My
And
wife has a Carmen Ghia, and I think probably
there you go.
second in line, I'm going to say that for the lines.
Right.
Obviously, the Beetle's iconic, but the Carmen Ghia is a pretty badass car, man.
It's a sports car. It's a
Right.
sports car.
Right,
And
right.
it should be treated as one, I think.
Yep. We got
But
Porsche twists on hers.
oh, do you? Nice.
Yeah, it's 71. She
Okay.
didn't want to drive a stick shift, so we went with the auto clutch. I found a 71 with 46,000 miles, one owner
Wow.
in Pennsylvania, and we drove up to go get it. The guy opened up the door of a barn, and it's in the back of this barn.
Wow.
It was
a real barn find.
I swear to God, my Instagram post that day was a real barn find.
Oh, that's
And it had the
awesome.
door going up, and I go to the back, and yeah, and we put it on the trailer. We towed it back home. It's a very solid, awesome car. I'm grateful. But the Type
Uh,
3, you said the notch. I had to go there with it. It looks like an old, kind of Chevy 57 Bel
it
Air to me.
does. The roof line has 57 Chevy vibes for sure. And I really think that if Ferdinand Porsche was in charge of designing a Chevy for an economy car, that would have been the notchback.
Okay, so the thought in 2020 now, we're gonna come to recent times,
All right.
was, "Alright, what if we bring this thing back?"
Yeah. So let's flash back to 2020. Everybody's in COVID. We're on lockdown, except
Oh
for me.
god.
Although I was not on lockdown because at this time I had transitioned out of McMullen and Ian doing their website of things to being the director of marketing for a pre-owned Harley dealership in Anaheim.
Okay.
That in itself is a great. It's another one of those. It's I was in the right place at the right time, and I knew then that if I said no, I would regret it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, cool.
But so I was doing that, and I was working as the marketing guy for this Harley place, and I was sitting there going, you know what? I'm 60 years old. I turned 60 in 2020. And I'm like, I'm kind of coming up on that retirement age, you know. It's like it's going to be here faster than I would prefer. And I go, I want to do something fun in my retirement. I don't want to be that guy that sits on the couch eating Doritos, drinking Dr. Pepper, and watching reruns of Gunsmoke. I didn't want to be that guy. And I'm going, when did I have the most fun in my life? What period of time that I can think back on that I can say unequivocally gave me the most joy? And it was when I was doing VW Trends. I had so much fun going to these places, talking to people, hearing the stories,
It's the
and
community,
just
man.
it's the community
Yeah,
without question.
yeah.
And so I went online and I started doing a little bit of a deep dive and seeing, what was out there. And the copyright had expired in 92 on that. And it freaked me out, totally freaked me out. So I put it down for a month and I said, well, okay, I'm reading it wrong. Have to be reading it wrong. So I go back a month later and it's still there. And I went, okay, this is God's way of saying, happy birthday. Uh,
Yeah, right.
pick this
Merry
thing up.
Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, it's all
Exactly. Whatever. This is a lifetime of presents right here.
Yeah.
And so I nabbed it and I reached out to four really close friends. It was myself, Paul Morton, Ron Petro, and uh, Becky, my girlfriend. And I said, look, I've got this crazy idea. And before I could even finish my pitch, and I'd worked long on that pitch too, I really wanted to go over good. Before I could even finish it, they all said, yes, we're on board 100%. So
You
we
told the right ones.
told the right ones. And I
Yeah.
mean, and that lineup has shifted over the last 5 years, but it's still, we're still on track and all of us have the same mindset. And so we decided, okay, we got it. We're moving forward. We're going to publish it. How are we going to do this? Because none of us had any money. It's like, it's everyone had families, and I'm getting ready to retire, so I'm not making a lot of cash. And so I said, well, what would be the best way to get the VW community involved in this? And I thought, oh, what am I even thinking? Crowdfunding. So we came up with the idea of having different levels of involvement, like the platinum group got a year subscription, and we threw in a magazine that was an alternative cover that only people that subscribed to that. And
Oh.
we made certificates of authenticity where we all signed it, including Shannon Ray, the cover model, and we included that, a t-shirt, stickers, the whole thing for, I think it was $200. Long story short, we raised all the money for 3 issues and it took off. We first published in spring of 2021 and we've just been going strong ever since. We're worldwide again, which is awesome.
Oh, dude,
And
so cool.
it's really picking up steam. It's really picking up a lot of steam.
How'd it feel to hold the physical copy again in 2021? What was it? Close to 20 years?
It had been dead. VW Trends was killed in 2005.
Okay, so 16 years.
16 years total.
Yeah.
16. And to pick up when we got that magazine delivered to the house, and it was on a pallet, and we cut it open and we picking up the magazine was almost it was very emotional, to be honest with you. It was
Sure,
kind of
man.
like, you know what? It's almost like unveiling your car at a car show for the first time. It's like there is this pride and this sense of accomplishment and this just overwhelming gratitude to a community that really got behind us. I mean, had it not been for the community, Joe, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, dude, it's
Would not have
VW
happened.
Trends, it's like we all grew up on this.
Yeah, and I thought that too because I know what it meant to me. I figured
Right.
it has to mean something to others, but you never really know until you know.
Right,
And
right.
and that's what this experience has shown me, that one, the magazine died too prematurely. Two, that there is still plenty of life left
Oh, dude.
in
I think
print
it's
media.
it's it's just banging now worldwide, especially with social media and these types of outlets now that just make branding just something different.
Absolutely. And that we've really embraced that. And we realize that, you know what? And it's so funny, Joe, when we go out to events, no matter where we go, at least five people come up to the booth and go, "Oh, I didn't know you were back." And I'm going, "Are you kidding me? How
Yeah.
could you even be living under a rock? What
I was
is
gonna
the
say,
story?"
you hand them a rock and say, "Here, man, I got this
Yeah,
off of your pillow."
right. Crawl out from under that. Take a look.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's fascinating because, and this is the big thing that we learned from all of our road trips. Not everybody goes on the web. Not everybody
Dude.
uses Instagram.
So we do a couple shows down here, me and my buddy Alan, about 4 of them in a year, throughout the year, different shows, and I learned that, right? Here's how I learned it. We decided because the biggest following and all the people were coming from the Facebook page that we were just gonna make the announcements on the Facebook page. Well, there
Right.
was, like, 50 people that wanted these same instructions and clues to this ride we were putting together that never got it because we're like, "Well, dude, we updated the Facebook page. We did this. We went live. We did a video." And they're like, "We don't fucking log into Facebook. What are you talking about, Facebook?"
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, so there's that." Right. The older community, they don't
Yes.
really mess around with Facebook. So, dude, you're right. You're right.
It's really funny too because it kind of swings both ways on that. I've got I had this old lady in Canada come up to the booth and I introduced myself. She goes, "Oh, I know who you are. I watch you on Instagram." And I'm going, "Well, there you go. Here's an old lady, follow me on Instagram." And yet I got this 27-year-old guy who didn't know we were back because he doesn't do any social media. And I'm like, that I think for me is the biggest challenge is how do I reach these people? How do I reach, this segment of the market that it isn't on the internet. And we've really had to be very intentional and very laser like in figuring out how to reach these people. And it's no easy chore, that's for sure.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot then
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
for the future. What's the mission of VW Trends today? And looking back now for what you know versus what you did back then, what sets it apart from the 90s version?
I would say this, and I can say this in all sincerity, is that back then VW Trend started in the 70s, but back then it was really more about just showcasing cars, like who had the cool car, and really the owner of the car and the story behind the car became more supporting characters. When we brought VW Trends back this time, we sat down and we said, okay, if we're going to make a real, because we had to form a printing company, or not a printing company, a publishing company
Right.
called STA Publishing, which stands for Second Time Around. That was my
Oh,
idea. Little fun
cool,
joke.
cool, cool, cool. I
But
love it, man. I love all the little root stuff that's rooted in the past.
yeah, and the one thing that I said, I go, what's the one common denominator about the Volkswagen? And my best friend Rich, he goes, everyone's got a story even if they've never owned one. And I went, that right there, that is who we're aiming at. It's like the
That's what I
car
just
is
did.
you exactly. That's exactly it. The
Yes.
car is the star, but the story is king. That's sort of the
Oh man, that's
uh
amazing right there. The car
yeah,
star, the story is king. You're exactly right. And that's exactly why that's why I reached out to you, because the story is king.
yeah.
Uh,
And it's, you know what? And it's something you enjoy. And when it stops being fun, you got to bail out because people can tell. People can tell when you're just phoning something in, and it really makes a difference if you are an enthusiast. Now, I don't wrench on cars. I can if I'm forced into it. I really don't like it. I'm more comfortable behind the camera, but I can do it. But man, I really love watching some of these like some of the engine builders that I've gotten to know since the last MP engine build off, like D&J Auto, like Jim's Custom VWs back east, like all these people that are hardcore into it and all of the tricks and tips that they do. Like I can appreciate that because I can't do it. I can't do it at all. Now I could write about it, I could take pictures about it,
so
but
I'm
man,
in the same boat.
yeah,
I'm a creator just in different ways.
yes,
I think I know enough to be dangerous,
yep,
adjusting carburetor, all that type of stuff. But here's the real truth for me in my life. I've got a really bad back. I've had some back
oh
surgeries, and I don't do that get down on the ground, get up stuff.
no,
I don't do that get under the car type. And it's not that listen, man, I wish I could. It probably saved me a whole bunch of money and time that my cars have to go away. But here's the truth. There are people out there that are actual artists with the way that
yes,
they work on these cars, and those people actually deserve to be working on these cars, not me who's just gonna be like, "Well, it's good enough," right? Because that's just my
I hear
nature.
you,
Like, I just want it to work. All right, well, I'm the guy that pays to get it done right, and
right.
I'm alright with that. I'm alright with that.
Yeah, there's no shame in that game. And
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where I would much rather go and watch and learn from somebody putting it together than try to figure it out for myself. I really don't have that much time. I mean, I'm in the winter of my years, as they say, and it's one of those things where if it isn't fun for me, it's like, why am I even doing it?
I guess for the future of our culture, what advice would you give for the next generation of VW storytellers? We're on this topic now talking about, these kids and what their interests are. What if somebody's interested in, being a storyteller or a photographer? What advice would you give them moving forward?
Absolutely. Here's what I tell people that come up and ask me. Like, they ask me how I did it, and I go, "Well, don't follow in my footsteps," because that's like that was such a well, I don't want to say happenstance, but it's crazy how I got into it and how I didn't really even think that that was what I wanted to be. But over the course of the last 30 years or so, the one thing that I've seen that people make the biggest mistake in wanting to break into being a writer or a photographer. The first two things is know something about your craft. Find something you're really into, whether it's VWs, whether it's Chevys, whether it's Camaros, whatever, it doesn't matter. Find something you're really into and then just start writing. Write a story about it. Even though you may not have owned the car, walk around the car and pick stuff out and then start writing a story. The biggest thing I tell people when they ask me about freelancing is I always tell them you need to write in such a way that a person who has never seen this car could know what it looks like based on your description.
Mm,
And you have to do that. And then
solid.
secondarily is your photography. Basic, I mean, for heaven's sakes, you can pick up a Canon Rebel camera and take magazine quality shots as long as you know where the light goes or how to use lighting, how to get different angles, make it creative and interesting. That would be the first two primary things. The third thing, and probably most important, is get yourself a very thick skin in regards to rejection because you're going to send stuff into magazines and they're going to send back, well, thanks, but no thanks, or this isn't quite along the lines of our editorial guidelines. whatever. You've just got to keep sending it out there. It's very much a shotgun approach.
It's like fishing. You just got to keep
It
throwing the lure.
100%. It
Keep
is
throwing
like
it.
fishing.
Eventually, something's going to hit it, man. Eventually.
And you have to back to the thick skin thing. This is probably my favorite story that I love to tell about the first 2 or 3 years that I was with VW Trends. Right? I'm sure you know the name Gene Berg. Okay, so I've met Gene a couple times, and they were an advertiser. Well, actually, they weren't an advertiser with VW Trends, sadly. But anyway, I had heard from one of the other editors who was overdoing a story at Gene's place, and this was the exact quote that Gene Berg said. He said, "Dan Leadbetter is the worst thing to happen to the VW industry." And at first I was hurt. I was a little bit hurt because that's Gene Berg, right? He is the Zeus of the VW gods of Olympus, right? And I'm going, oh, that really sucks that he thinks that. And then I stopped and I went, you know what?
He knows me.
He knows me, but if I can have that kind of impact on someone, I must be doing something right. And
That's it.
it reminded me of a story. The first time the Alice Cooper group came to Los Angeles and they were opening for the Doors at the Whiskey A Go Go. They get up on stage, they're doing their thing, and people just start getting up and leaving. And finally, they cleared out the place. Nobody was left in there except one person, and that was Frank Zappa. And he signed them to a record label the day after. He goes, anybody that can clear out a bar before the Doors come on has got to have something. So I figure I'm the Alice Cooper of the VW industry.
Okay. I like it.
If I can piss Gene off, I'm doing good.
Any favorite lessons from decades in the scene worthy of sharing?
The biggest lesson I think I learned is always double check to make sure you have film in your camera.
Ooh. I'll tell you, that just reminded me of a feeling.
I know. Yeah.
I'll give you the feeling. Here's the feeling.
Lay it on me, because it's probably exactly what I felt.
About 10 years ago, 12 years ago, these phones, they didn't have that much memory in them, but the camera started to blow up, right? There would be times that I'd get my phone out. It'd be in the middle of this Kodak moment, and it's the only time you're going to be able to get this shot. And you draw the camera up, and you go to take the picture, and it tells you don't have enough space.
Right.
And you look down, you try to do
something.
The dolphin already jumped. The shark already attacked the boat. You're like, you missed the whole thing, dude. So yeah,
and the only reason I say that is because it was one of the most impactful moments of my life. I went out to this place and we were shooting. I was doing a tech story on how to install one of those, aluminum drag wings on the back of your Beetle, right?
Yeah.
And we're shooting and they're drilling and making stuff, and I'm shooting and I'm going, man, I'm getting a lot of shots out of this camera. And I go, I must be doing okay, so I'm click. We get all the way done, and I look down and I had forgotten to put film in the camera.
Oh my!
And I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, this is an advertiser. This is probably the most unprofessional thing that could have happened to me in my entire life. I had to think quick, how am I going to dance my way out of this one? And I thought, oh my God, I have film. So I open up my camera, I put the film in, I go, guys, 100% transparency, forgot to put film in the camera. They laughed, thought it was really funny. And I said, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot the installation in reverse. So I'll shoot a finished shot. You guys get your hands on it to look like you're putting it there. And
Start taking it off.
Started taking it off, and nobody knew the difference.
Dude, that is a thinker right there. You got yourself out of hot water by just telling them to just reverse everything.
Oh, good Lord. So that's the biggest thing. Kids, put film in your camera.
Okay. That's
even though you don't have to worry about that these days.
Yeah. You don't. That's kind of sad, but
it kind of is. But you know what? I wish we had digital cameras back then. We would have saved so much money.
I just had a dude on last week, and we got to talking about he did some carpentry work on the scene on the movie set of Jackass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a dubber, and we were just talking about stuff, and I'm like, dude, here's the truth. If we would have had cameras when I was young, me and my buddies were Jackass times 4. We were doing pranks. We were cutting people's bags on the Gulf Boulevard. I mean, it was the craziest childhood. We didn't record it.
You'd
These
be
guys
in
came
juvenile
out 10,
hall.
15 years later, they recorded everything, and we're like, "Oh, so you mean you're supposed to record yourself doing all that stuff?"
Apparently so. We missed the boat, Joe. We really did.
All right, I got some rapid fire questions. These are
Okay, I will
so
try to be as rapid as I can.
all right, you ready?
Yep, lay it on me.
All right, favorite VW model that you've ever owned?
Oh gosh, 1967 Beetle.
67 Beetle. That's first year to 12 volt.
Yep, yep. That was probably my favorite one to own and drive, and it just went forever.
Okay. How about dream car that you haven't built yet?
Oh, good Lord. I have a couple of them actually.
Yeah.
I would love to I would love to build a convertible bug like a 50s era convertible VW. And on the opposite end of that, I've always wanted to build a VW bus hearse.
Ooh,
I saw
interesting.
one, and I've always been a big fan of horror and scary movies and stuff. And my ultimate dream car would be like 5960 hearse, that was tubbed in the back with the big huge wheels, make a casket, a subwoofer enclosure, and just have this just amazingly monster car. But as far as VWs go, I saw a VW bus hearse, and I was like, I want one. I want one. I need one of those. I could possibly afford that. But yeah, those
Do
would be
you
the two.
in your, I guess, horror side,
Sure.
have you ever seen or heard of a dude that does John's Horror Corner? He
No.
he reviews. So I've got a buddy that's an insect doctor. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know they existed either.
Yeah, I
But
didn't know
when
that
we
was a
were
thing.
real young, this guy used to, pick up grasshoppers and shit and tell me what their legs were doing and how they had, this, that, and the other going on. And did you know that they
Wow.
can emit light and all? And I'm like, anyway, he grows up to be an insect doctor. Well, his passion in his life outside of insects and traveling the world, by the way, he just got a job for the Smithsonian. So congratulations.
Wow.
He's
Good
moving to
job.
DC. Yeah, heck yeah. But he has a platform called John's Horror Corner where he
Okay.
reviews horror films,
Oh,
and talks about them with a couple of his other buddies. I'm looking
send me
for
a
it.
link. Send me a link
Yeah,
on that, please.
I
Please do.
will, I will. All right, back to you, back to you, back to you. How about
Sorry,
this
got
one?
we got sidelined on
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
horror.
Here's a good one, here's a good one. First concert that you ever went to?
Oh, Rush at the Cow Palace,
Rush.
Permanent
God,
Waves tour.
Rush on the drums, dude. You're a drummer? Get
Oh,
out of
dude.
town, man. Come on.
Dude,
Yeah.
so sad when Neil passed.
Oh, dude. All right, better
Like,
smell for you. Race fuel or fresh print ink?
I would say print ink only because race fuel that yeah, I don't huff
Yeah,
anything.
might be an iffy question for you
Okay.
because of your stance, but favorite VW event?
Oh gosh. No, I don't mind saying it. Honestly, the one event that I remember going to that for me is the benchmark by which all other VW events will be judged was Al Martinez's jamboree at the
Jamboree.
Orange County Fairgrounds. Holy crap. That guy, let me tell you, he knew how to put on a party. Like he had the bikini contest, he had bands, he had a petting zoo for the kids, he had a little shopping area for the wives and girlfriend, huge car show on grass, vendors, beer vendors, all this stuff. And I
Damn.
got to tell you, this is a thing that I cannot express enough is what I miss. I miss getting to an event at 6 a.m. and there's always like a half mile of cars waiting to get in,
Yeah.
and they stay all day long and they don't leave until 7:38 that night. And I miss those days. It drives me. I kind of understand it, but I kind of don't at the same time. I just don't understand this. Okay, the show opens at 9 or 10 and we leave by 2. I'm like, it it shouldn't be this way. There should be stuff to do. There should be things to see. And I wrote
So
an editorial about it. It just drives
I
me
think
crazy.
I think I can relate to what happened there, over time. We're in this society now, all of us exist in this instant gratification, instant
Sure.
results, instant, I get my phone, I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna, everything is so instant, right? It's like there's no more of the, kind of going out and playing, vibe.
Right.
And I
That
feel
is
like
true.
with people today, they have so much other shit to do. They're trying to cram into the day. It's like, well, if we can go to the event and we can, show our car and we can be out of there
Right.
by 2, it's
You
like
got
that
the rest
that's
of the day.
yeah, that's the only reason they're gonna sign up. If you trying to tell them, because we just went through this with our peer event. If we at first we were like, all right, it's gonna run till 5. And registrations in the first month were like just bleak. Like it was like
Right.
19 cars registered. We're like, what is going on? So we, talked to a few of the community leaders and we ask them what's going on. And they say, dude, it's Florida. You guys are expecting people with no shade or nothing to stay till 5 o'clock. Are you crazy? So we're like, well, dude, that's all you had to do is tell us. We'll dial it back. We dialed it back to 2 o'clock. We saw like 100 registrations in a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think people are just so preoccupied with their own agenda. They just don't have those old vibes anymore of just, hey, let's just go and set up and chill.
Right, right. Exactly.
So
And
got to
and
meet them in the middle somehow.
I do feel you on that. And I think that there's ways you can kind of circumvent that. Like I mean, I've been to a few events that are held outside. It wouldn't take much to bring out like a tent or something for people to sit under the shade or at least
You're right, though. We did that. So we
offer
ended up saying
something.
we had to go back to the city and we had to say, okay, at first you told us that all the buses and stuff, they couldn't set their tents up and their canopies. What's the reason behind that? Oh,
Right.
it's fire marshal and all the stuff we went back and forth. So we pressed on them. We're like, look, we're trying to create this event. The city's behind us. They're sponsoring the event. Like, if they can set their canopies up, it's going to change everything. We made
Right.
that announcement, dude. That was the same time we dialed the time back. We had like 3
And then
big
it just
things. It just
blew
blew
up.
it up. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
How about this one?
All right.
Most underrated builder in the scene.
Oh gosh, that's a great question.
There's a lot now, dude.
Man, there's
There's
this
a lot
one
now.
guy. There is a guy out of Hesperia, Sean from Slow Ride Garage. He does some really amazing work, and you know, I try to push him as much as I can.
Okay.
And I would just say that he's one of those hidden heroes. His work is so good and like so meticulous. Yeah, I would say he's one of the ones that I think is so good and doesn't get a lot of press.
One word that sums up the entire VW journey thus far.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. It
Awesome.
it really is. I feel blessed and grateful because I mean I ended up where I really shouldn't have been. By all means, it's like I should not have been the editor of a VW magazine. But conversely, I am so grateful to be a part of this and to be a part of a community, number one, that is not only one of the most enthusiastic that I've ever been a part of and one of the most passionate,
Mm.
but the one of the most kind and generous and helpful. Like when I was driving back east, I was going through Alabama or Tennessee, one of those places, and there
Hey
was
man,
a
two amazing shops in both Riverbank Customs, Pell City, Alabama, and
oh
then
yeah,
Long Restoration, Brad Long.
yes,
Whoa, dude, Brad Long's cars. Whoa,
exactly. He's kind of like the Buddy Hale of the East Coast. I
dude, rock
I,
star.
I think
Yeah,
he's amazing.
he came on the podcast. I was privileged to have him. These guys, man, these real, talented
Right?
artists of the VW craft. They make it seem so easy.
Oh, absolutely. It's
That
like
I
it's
keep
like
tuning into his Instagram or his Facebook every day. Look, dude, I just pulled it up. He's right here. He's working on this baby blue one. I think this is a 71, bringing it to Bug Jam. But I just watch his videos and I'm like, dude,
yeah, and it comes so natural. It just flows out of them.
they make it
And
look so easy. Yeah,
that's what I think is so amazing. But the
yeah,
fact that you have this group of people who are not only dedicated, passionate, and willing to go out and do cool stuff, but they want to help others. It's like I saw a VW bus pulled over at the side of the road and some dude in a Beetle pulled up behind him to help him out. And I'm like,
exactly.
that is
That's
what
the
our
culture.
industry is all about right
That's it.
there.
That's the culture. Listen, man, this has been an absolute blast. I think your story is pretty much a perfect example of what happens when passion meets persistence
Oh, thank you.
From typewriters to timelines, I think you have kept the VW story alive for generations to enjoy. So we thank you so much. Everybody go check out VW Trends magazine, print, digital, whatever your flavor is. Keep supporting the people that pour their heart and soul into this culture. I know I do. I know Dan does. Dan, thank you so much, brother, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're the man. And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.